Hi, this is Ruth Sanderson again, and this is the second in the series of grayscale coloring on my piece from Cinderella. Today I'm going to work on the portrait, the flesh tones, and using a very simple palette of light peach, and blush pink. You can get more complicated than this, but this is a basic starting palette of three colors that really work for most Caucasian flesh tones. So I'm going to go over the entire face, including the gray areas, the shadows, just to give it a base of this light colored pencil, this light color. And again, with layers of colored pencils, you want to have a light hand at first and try to make nice even layers. You can use little circles or just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Whatever your technique, whatever technique you prefer. So as you see, as you do the second layer, it gets a little bit darker. It almost looks like nothing when you first start this, but be patient, and the pencil actually does magically build up on the paper. And now I'm doing it in a different direction, holding my pencil in a different direction, so that it'll catch some of those crevices in the paper. The paper has quite a lot of texture. If you took a magnifying glass, you'd see like all these nooks and valleys and crevices, and that's why you often see those little white specks, because you don't get into all those areas with the colored pencils until you either burnish or blend with something like gamsol, which you're going to do. So now I'm going to take the next color, which is peach, and accent put layers rather on the shadow areas of the face. And peach goes just beautifully over the gray to make a nice warm shadow. And if you look at if you look at people, you'll actually see a lot of gray in the flesh tones of people. So there's this sort of underlying gray that actually works beautifully for grayscale. It really ends up with quite a realistic look. I like to accent a little under the mouth. So the light's coming from the top left in this picture, so the left side of her face is light and the right side of her face is darker, but not dark. How you create a really beautiful portrait is to keep those two areas separate and distinct, and not to put too many, or any actually, put no darks in the light area. Just do a little bit of color changing, but not changing of the value of the lightness of that area. And the same with the shadow. Try to keep it keep it sort of the same value, although there will be slightly darker areas under the chin, under the just under the lip, under the eyebrow and the nose, etc. But that whole shadow area is sort of one value. Nothing too dark. Now I'll go in with the blush pink, which is a very pale pink, and I'll just cross hatch a little area of blush on her cheek, just to give her a little more color. And I'll do the same thing using a little more pressure, so that you can see, so that the shadow side is a little bit darker. And now I'll put a layer of the blush pink on her lips as well. And I could leave them like that, but I think I'm going to add maybe a little bit extra pink on her lips. I'm not a fan of red lipstick, so I don't tend to put to make give my princesses red lips. Some people do, and that's fine, but I like a very soft look, and often red is quite a dark color. You know, it's the dress. You know, you squint and it's like, ooh, that's dark. So if you put red lipstick, sometimes it's a little shocking. You know, and then if you have soft, subtle shadows and what have you, it sometimes can look out of key. So I'm using a pink for the lips, and I should have sharpened this. It's a little fuzzy there. I went a little too far up in the upper lip, but I can add a little light peach to correct that too. So I am adding more layers of the light peach to give it a little more color in the light areas here. I like to add an accent on the lower lip. The light falls usually from above, so usually the top lip is in more shadow and the bottom lip is often lit by light. So you often want to put a nice lighter accent on the bottom lip, so you can differentiate between the top and the bottom lip. So going over the whole thing, including the shadow areas with the light peach. So this is henna, and henna is a nice, it's sort of a cross between, it's like a reddish brown, it's henna colored, but it's nice for accents under the nose, under the lip, under the eyes, and under the eyebrow, and the line of the eye socket. Just a little bit of extra accents. What I like to do to accent eyes is to use a very thin dark brown as opposed to a Prismacolor dark brown. Notice how thin this pencil is, so you can really get in to small faces and do like the tiniest little eyeballs and lids to add just a little bit of darker accent to them. I do like subtlety. You know, I don't, you know, make my princesses look like they have massive amounts of mascara on them. You know, I like that sort of innocent, soft look. So I add these dark accents really carefully to keep the character looking soft and princess-like. This henna is another use of this henna is for in between the fingers. It's a nice warm accent in between the fingers. So in general, in the shadow areas, it's good to have to use some good color in there. You wouldn't want to put a dark black or anything in the shadow. If you have a choice, choose a warm color in the shadow. Of course, if something's blue, you wouldn't do that. But in terms of flesh, you would really use a nice warm color. So just like the face, I'm putting a number of layers of the light peach over both hands. And arms. Choosing a different angle, which covers more of the paper. portraits especially, you want to be, you know, take your time with them. Just be, you know, just be patient, and the color will build up. So taking the peach, going into the shadow areas, and the transitions between her skin and the dress too. Putting a little extra color in there. That's our cat, Dr. Watson, by the way. We'll be coloring him later. So I'm putting another layer of the peach over the entire skin tone of the hands and arms. Usually arms and hands are a little darker than faces. So often I'll put you know, some extra layers on hands and arms. Okay, so here we go with gamsol. I've just put it in a cap of a jar for ease, and blending just like the dress. Now looking back on this, I feel like I probably should have taken a little more time and put a few more layers on the arm. You notice the shadow of the arm is quite gray, so I don't think I put quite enough pigment on that. But I can go back later after this is dry and add more peach. That's the great thing about gamsol. It's like, you know, once it dries, you can work right back into the picture and add, you know, add more detail and more layers. So I'm pulling in a little bit of softening that edge between the red dress and the arm to make it a nice soft edge. Pulled a little bit too much of red into the hand, but looks okay. I haven't been using gamsol that much yet. I really do like it though. But one thing I learned, and this is showing actually the mistake of if you're going over an area and you don't want that color to blend into the next thing you touch. You know, there was a little bit of red from the dress, and that shoulder now is a little bit too red. So I'll go back in and add some more light pencil afterward. But I should have sanded down the tip of the stump. Just with, you can just use regular sandpaper, or you can get, you know, one of those pencil sharpener sandpaper blocks, and use that. And you just sand the edge down of this pencil stump, and it will get clean again, and you can use it on a different color. You know, especially if you've just blended a big area of blue, you don't really want to put it on her face, because then she would have big blue splotches. So just be aware of that. So what I did there was a bit of a mistake. But I'll fix it. I don't think I could fix it if it was blue, but you know, it's in the same value pattern. Yeah, this is really bothering me. It's like, oh, it's too dark and it's red. But nobody's perfect, and after that dries, I'll put some layers of more layers of flesh tone, and it'll look fine. Here we go. Now it looks better. So, more layers. So it's amazing that, you know, you really can end up having your picture look like a painting when you use the gamsol and the blending and then go over it again. So I'm keeping this really simple, but you know, sometimes simple is best. Sometimes simple, there's nothing wrong with simple. So that's just about it. I hope you enjoyed this demo on using simple colors for flesh tones and blending with gamsol. And next time I'll work on Cinderella's hair.